Welcome to the Ride This Out podcast, where we talk about how to improve your mental health and strengthen your connection to nature and your community, all through one simple solution: the bicycle. My name is Zach Golding, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and mental health therapist. I'll be your host as we discuss the power of pedaling. All right, in this week's session, I talk with Paul Shelton. He's a licensed clinical social worker as well, and it was fun to reconnect with him. Paul and I lived in the same neighborhood for a number of years when me and my wife were first married, living in our first apartment. He lived just around the corner from us, and it was fun connecting with him. Again, we had ran into each other a couple weeks ago just at the park and got talking about biking and everything, and it was cool to hear how he has gotten into it so much. So I thought it'd be fun to have him on and discuss his story. So enjoy this week's session. Start off by introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, just all those things.
Yeah, I'm Paul Shelton. I live in Utah County in Orem, and I'm a social worker, a licensed clinical social worker, licensed by the state of Utah. And I've been doing that since 2013. I'm a dad. I have 4 younger kids, and I grew up in Utah. I grew up in a town called Cedar Hills near American Fork Canyon, and spent some time in California. That's where I graduated high school before I returned to Utah.
Nice. So social work, why did you get into social work? What was the motivation to get your licensed clinical social work and get into that profession?
So I had a job when I was 18 working for a care center, and it was pretty hard work, and it didn't pay super great either, but it felt good that I spent my time helping people. And then at that time I kind of thought, if I'm working, I might as well be benefiting another person with my time, or other people. Later, I started college and was looking at doing construction management, but quickly realized that's not what I wanted to do. And I saw social work as an option, and that's what I went towards, and quickly decided that was my track.
Where did you, so you graduated with your master's in social work. Where did you graduate with your graduate degree from?
BYU.
Nice. And that was in 2013, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I graduated in 2014 from the University of Utah with my master's in social work. So around that same time frame. And we're still friends, right? I mean, we don't have a BYU Utah rivalry. Who cares, right?
Right. Not so important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Who cares? But okay, so you graduated, I mean, that was 10 years ago. What kind of work you've been doing? Who have you worked for? Like what's the population that you work with?
Yeah, I work for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at the Desert Industries, as a social worker, a counselor there, helping people with their employment barriers.
So, have you worked for them the whole time?
Yeah. Yep. I started in 2013, right after graduated.
Wow. Awesome. Um, so like, someone comes in there, are they referred by like their church leader or something, or how do they get sent to you?
That's correct. Yeah. There are people who will walk in and ask for work, and we'll help them as well. But their church leader, bishop, does get involved.
Okay. And so helping them find like employment, different resources, and being a licensed clinical social worker, are you mostly working like with their mental health needs? Are you working just connecting them to resources? I mean, all of the above. Like, take us through like a typical. I guess there's not a typical session or client, but just like common things that you see.
Yeah, it's helping people with their self-reliance. Often barriers that make it difficult to be self-reliant include mental health disorders or physical disabilities or generational poverty, immigration, autism. There's a whole range of things that cause people to struggle with their work and being able to work. And so those are the things that we address, help connect to different resources and address work behaviors inside the desert industries.
Oh, cool. So a lot of your clients, they'll work with you on creating some kind of plan. I'm sure, helping them with whatever they need to, and then are they working directly with the desert industries, like with the thrift store?
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Nice.
They get paid employment there as they are part of our program.
Awesome. Cool. That's awesome. I'm sure that's a pretty rewarding job, pretty fulfilling, seeing some people make improvements in their life and succeed. I can also that it can be a little bit challenging and frustrating at times if just trying to help people and maybe they're not maybe making the progress that you think that they should, or things like that, right? What would you say is like the hardest part of your job?
Yeah, I think the hardest part might be when people really need help, but they have a hard time realizing how to get the help and being motivated to take steps. And so you watch them kind of struggle through things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So tell me, how did you get into biking? Like, was it something you just always did as a kid? Did you get into it, later on in life? Where did you start with it?
Yeah, definitely started when I was a kid. I I as I said, I grew up in Cedar Hills, Utah, and we're right next to the mountains there, and there were very few houses. Now there's houses everywhere. I used to ride my bike, but back then it was just open mountains and fields, and so I would ride mountain bikes and BMX bikes growing up, and it was something that I loved at that time, and I kept doing as much as I could through life. And there were times where I biked less, maybe college, and but then I've picked it back up and bike more than I ever did before. But it's always been something I've loved and a part of my life.
Yeah, so you were saying you've picked it up more now. Um, like what kind of biking do you mostly do now? Road biking? Do you still do mountain biking? Just cruising around with your kids? What kind of stuff do you do now?
I I tend to do it all, but the most common is by commuting. That's the most practical for me since I have kids and things get. But I can always fit a ride in if I'm riding to work and back from work. I get an opportunity to bike and take myself to work and home.
Yeah. So when did that start? I mean, you've been working there, 10 years. Was that just like day one you started biking, or how did you like come up with the idea of like, oh, I should start riding to work now?
Yeah, so in 2017, I was part of my work with a community bike shop, helping people I work with access bikes through this community bike shop, and
Was that
and I
the was that the bike collective, the Provo Bike Collective?
correct, yeah.
Nice.
And the director there I had gotten to know a bit, and we had the ability to refer people there for bikes from the DI for transportation purposes. And so I had been doing that a little bit. And one time the director met with me and kind of uh, shamed me not biking to work. And and so I because I talked to him about I'd like to do this or whatever, and my wife encouraged me to kind of work out the logistics of it and figure out, getting a locker and clothes and a way to change and those sort of things. And once the logistics were figured out, it was from then on out biking most every day, and became something that I love and is a big part of my life. And so yeah, the commuting is what I love, but I guess I would say I biking is, this might sound silly, but a like my lifestyle. I I bike. We go on family bike rides. I bike to the store to pick up things, groceries or whatever if I can, or I go road biking on longer bike trips, or I go mountain biking with my brothers, and just wherever I can. I also started working on bikes as well and learning how to fix them and build them, and so it turned into something that is part of my life all around.
So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's become a little bit of your identity, right? Because you do it so much. The I'm curious what the bike collective director did to shame you into it. Like, what did they say? It worked. It was effective. Look at you now.
Yeah, well, usually shaming is not the best way to go. Usually effective and can be harmful. But since I had already wanted to do this and I just needed a little bit of a push, I guess it worked for me. I He said something of the nature of like, asked me how far away from work I live, and said, well, why aren't you riding your bike? How come you're driving here? And I said, well, I don't really know. I don't have a great reason. I said, I do drive my motorcycle to work most days. And he said, well, I guess that's better than nothing. And so 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 then I was like, well, I think I would really like this, and that's my main motivation for bike commuting. I think some people it's economic reasons, others it's like environmental reasons, but for me, it started and is mostly for enjoyment reasons, for something I love, and those other things, economic and environmental, are bonuses.
Yeah, well, I think as a fellow therapist as well, I can agree that shaming is probably not the most beneficial thing. But I don't know, shaming versus just like being realistic of just being like, hey, it's really not that far of a ride for you to go, and if you're already riding your motorcycle, and then like you said, you just it kind of plants that idea in your mind of like, yeah, why can't I ride? If it's something that I like to do before. So that's kind of cool that again you kind of ran with it and just figured out the logistics of it, and you experience the enjoyment of it now. So I'm curious though, because you were working and your commute wasn't too far, but now it's a little bit further, right? Like how many miles do you commute a day?
Yeah, then it was when I first started, it was 2.5 miles each way, and it would take me 10-15 minutes each way. But now I commute 10 to 11 miles each way, and takes me 35 to 50 minutes each way, depending on which way I'm going. Um, and so it's definitely become more of a commitment, more time and effort, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm curious though, because I'm sure you were doing the shorter commute for quite a while. You got that dialed in, and then you get news that you're transferring to this longer thing. Like, how did you process that mentally? Were you like, oh, dang it, like looks like I'm just gonna have to drive, or were you like, all right, yeah, well, I'll just figure out a way to ride there?
Yeah, yeah, it was like the first day, probably the same day I was told I would be going to Springville. I started looking up possible routes, so it was pretty like second nature, instant, and I found some routes, and before I even transferred to a new location, I started testing it out before work to see what it would be like, and and I knew I loved it so much that I couldn't just stop, because it would take more time and be more effort, and and so it's I've never really had a problem with the extra length, the extra commute.
Yeah, and a chance for you to just ride even longer, right?
Yeah.
um, so I mean, what is it about biking to work that the enjoyment of it, right? Is it just clearing your mind? Is it just like relieving the burden from the day? Like, how is it so beneficial for you in your situation?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, but I just, yeah, I love being on a bike and being out in the open air, and I think there's something about getting places from your own power, from your own strength, that's really fun for me, and something I can be proud of. And then when I hit roads, and I'm just like kind of in the zone, like the world just kind of disappears momentarily, and it's just me pedaling my bike down a country road or whatever it is. And so that's why I love it. It is very therapeutic, and when I can't bike for whatever reason, it's noticeable, and I get kind of bummed out or even ornery for a bit because I'm not able to do it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. When I the days I don't bike, I'm kind of like disappointed. I'm like, oh dang it, like I didn't get to ride today. I didn't get to ride to work. Like I had to drive. Like what a bad, like dang it.
Right.
But yeah, I love that the way that you described that. Just you and your bike. I think that's just the cool thing about biking is it helps you get into that state of flow, right? That mindfulness and just be in the moment, that therapeutic just moment. Yeah, it's great. It's a great description.
Yeah, I bike year round, other than when there's active snow on the roads, because I experienced a few crashes that were not my favorite. So so but if the road doesn't have snow on it, I'm biking, and there are moments in the dark, early in the morning, even when it is snowing or raining as I'm riding, that it can be very peaceful, and I get really kind of, yeah, like I said before, feel a sense of pride that I on whatever elements that are in my way, and just connecting with the outdoors and my bike under any circumstance. And when it's really hot like it is now too, it just you what so you're not asking this question, but it brings to mind, I read an article once about a bike commuter that would bike to his employment at BYU, and he said that you have to get to a place of zen if you're going to bike commute, a place of mindfulness, like you said, where where all things outside of me and my bike end up not bothering me. If there are people and vehicles or that are kind of cutting me off or not paying attention, or lots of traffic, hitting stoplights, or the rain, snow, heat, cold, whatever condition I go through, I seem to be in the same mood, the same place of zen, where nothing can really affect me while I'm on my bike. I'm just in a pretty good place. And that I think maybe that's why I love it so much, is because not the same in other areas of my life. I definitely get bothered by things that happen in my life, but while I'm on my bike, I've gotten to a place where I feel, almost untouchable, like I'm just in a good place when I'm riding.
Yeah, and I mean, as a mental health professional, right? What a great exercise for you to do before you go into a day of work, and then also after the day of work, right? To kind of reset your mind and your mental state before you get, to work, and then before you get to your family. Do you feel that like a kind of like a recharge as you do those things?
Yeah, yeah, it is a recharge. I I get this moment to myself where I'm exercising and sweating, and I still take work home with me sometimes. It's not perfect, but it is that chance to shut off the world for a little while and just bike every day almost. And so that's been awesome.
I love it, man. And I got a lot of respect for you. So I'll commute, about 10 or 11 miles as well. But the majority of my commute, the majority of the time that I'm commuting, I'm using my e-bike. So, depending on different people's perspectives, I don't know what you think about that. But do you ride an e-bike or you just ride a regular bike?
So I've had like my varying feelings about e-bikes. I've gone through these stages of e-bike feelings.
Where are
And
you at? Are you in denial? Are you in acceptance? Are you in anger? Where are you at in this in this process?
well, definitely acceptance, but depending on who's on it, on the bike, if someone's responsible on it. But but so when I started commuting, the longer commute, I thought to myself, like this is awesome. I'm enjoying this, and I got a little bit better bike to keep going since it was a longer commute. And I traded up the bike that I had built myself for a bike that was more put together. And and then I started telling myself, well, when I'm older, I'm going to start using an e-bike because I can't maintain this kind of thing forever. And and then eventually I I started thinking, this is taking a chunk of time out of work. And I started researching e-bikes, and I thought, well, if I could get to work faster and still do this ride, then I would that save some time for away from my family. And so I purchased a used Trek e-bike, and so it's a pedal assist. So I it doesn't have a throttle. It doesn't work unless I pedal. And so I still burn a lot of calories and work pretty hard, but it gets me to work back 10 minutes faster than before. And so I really enjoyed it. I got that in November
Oh,
of
cool.
last year.
Right on. Yeah, man, that's great. It's kind of funny because my e-bike experience, I had an old mountain bike that just fit me great, and I was like, oh man, it'd be cool to convert this and put an electric motor on it. And so I did. I paid a guy to do it, and it was funny because after I did that, it actually like rejuvenated my love for biking all around. In fact, after I did that, I've bought probably I don't even know, four other bikes that aren't e-bikes that are just a road bike, a mountain bike. In fact, I got to show you, Paul. I bought a new BMX bike. I got
Oh, really?
29-inch tires on it. Like it's like
Nice.
for like big guys to ride BMX bikes, and that bike is so much fun. It just reminds me of being a kid, and I just almost every night before I go to bed, I'll just ride around my block and I'll just feel like a kid just cruising around on the sidewalks and stuff. So, yeah, the reason why I say all that is just because a lot of people hate on e-bikes and everything, but I really think it helps like reintroduce the love of cycling to so many people. And I've, fallen back in love with just regular riding all the way around, and I've gotten more into road biking and everything too. So, it's just cool how it opens up people's riding abilities. And and just like, oh yeah, that, that 10-mile commute doesn't seem so bad now, right? Like or doesn't seem as long. And one thing that was described to me too is like we can make up a lot of excuses in our mind of, oh, it's too far, it's too windy today, or the weather. But having a pedal assist just really helps negate some of those excuses. Like, you know what? Like I can still do this. It's not going to be that bad because I have this a little bit of assistance too. So it helps in that regard too, at least for me.
Yeah, I would say the one place I've been guilty of not being zen in the past few years is the wind. When I've got a headwind coming at me,
Yep.
it frustrated me because I would work twice as hard and get home 10, 15 minutes later than normal. And so I was going slower and working harder. And so the pedal assist has helped slice through the wind when it comes, and that has made it so I don't have those moments of being ticked off on my bike.
No, absolutely. So you're saying, I mean, you're commuting all the time too, but even just cruising around town, you say you're going to the store, doing all different things, you're cruising around on your bike too?
Yeah, we have a cargo bike, like it's got a bucket on the back, so I can haul kids in there and groceries. I've got a trike that that was just a frame, and I built and put a box on it and a big basket, and so I have a few ways of transporting things, and I'd like to do that more often than I do, but sometimes we go shopping, and then if we're ever going to anywhere somewhat close by, it's either biking or walking. We're pretty we avoid the car if we have to. Even our kids will get bothered if we have to drive some places, and they're like, seriously, we're not walking, and they'll protest. But
That's awesome, man. Training them young. That's so cool. I think that's important for kids to grow up that way and recognize that you don't have to be stuck in a car all day, right? Like get out and enjoy nature and connect with your community.
yeah.
So cool. So cool. So Paul, before we end this, I just wanted to ask like so if someone's getting into or thinking about, commuting to work, right? What advice would you give them? I mean, besides, shaming them into doing it, what would you tell them to try to like, you know, overcome some of those barriers or those obstacles or those excuses that they might have, or what just kind of general tips would you give?
Yeah, I definitely would probably take the social worker approach than the shaming approach, but um,
Hey, if it works, it works, Paul. Just do it.
I guess it's effective for me. But I think it's the logistics, like knowing how you're going to change for work, store clothes, and have a place to change that's not like super inconvenient, and those sort of things. Figuring that out was big because I had tried it, but I was carrying a backpack. And that's another thing I would say is figure out a way not to have a backpack on your back. But um,
Just for
I,
like sweat reasons, or why would you say that?
yeah, just because if you're doing it all the time, it gets heavy, it gets annoying, and yeah, definitely sweat. But I found that, and also it doesn't, for me, it feels a little bit constraining, when I use a basket or a trunk bag on my rack, my rear rack, and I found that to be a lot more enjoyable or easy to do.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing. Once you figure that out, once you figure out what's most comfortable for you and the logistics, not having to go into a kind of a nasty bathroom stall and change, but you're in a nicer place. I use my office and that sort of thing. Then I think it works better.
Yeah, the logistics for sure. I think that's what honestly scares a lot of people away. They're not really thinking that. And um, but again, another plug for e-bikes is like, even if you're not going super far and you're not like putting a ton of effort into it, you'll still get a pretty good exercise, but you're not like overexerting yourself to the point where you like need to shower, right? Like it's like you
Right.
can show up
Yeah.
and still be fresh and just be totally fine. So that's another great aspect of it too. So
Yeah. Going into work, it's cooler, and so you don't sweat as much. And then coming home, uh, you sweat quite a bit more. And I'll dump water on my head too as I'm commuting, and so I'm somewhat drenched when I get home, but it doesn't matter because I'm going home. So
yeah,
it's just getting to work when it's cool and I don't sweat as much. So, but I know people.
yeah. Well, and I love how you talked about, just incorporating that because, you're going to commute to work anyways. You might as well get a little bit of a workout and get your ride in while you're doing that. Is, especially as a dad of four kids, your time is very valuable and precious. And so that's one thing that like really helped me as I was commuting to work too. That's kind of just been such a benefit is that it's just built into your day, right? Like I feel like I'm not taking more time away from my family. It's just like I'm going to work anyways. I might as well enjoy it and get some exercise out of it and have it benefit me.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
love it. Well, cool, Paul. Well, it's good to chat with you again, man. I know it's been too long, and we need to get together sometime and go right around town like little kids, just enjoy life.
That'd be fun. We could do it with the whole family, both our families.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll hook up our cargo bike, and you guys get yours, and we'll cruise around. In fact, we'll let you guys know we're gonna do a family ride here with Bike Orem. We're starting to get a little bit more involved with that, and we're gonna start doing some family rides. So mark your calendar. July 31st is the first one, but we'll if you can't make it that one, then for sure let's just get together and cruise around. That'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. I purchased a trailer and then I put a rack on it, and so I can take bikes to trails with this trailer and rack, and so lots of bikes can fit on there. That's another thing that's helped us.
That's the best, man. We do that a lot too. Just hauling bikes with bikes, right? Isn't that the best?
Yeah.
That's so cool. All right. Well, thanks again, Paul. I appreciate it. A lot of good stuff here, and we'll chat soon. All right, man.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Zach.
Okay. Have a good night.
See you.
All right. I'd like to thank Paul for joining me again. Cool to catch up with him. I'm excited to do some more riding with him. One of the things that, as he talked about, that really resonated with me is that idea of finding your zen and finding those moments in life of just being in the moment and not worrying about stuff that is out of your control, and how the bike really has taught him that. The weather, the elements, other people driving, different people, traffic. None of those things, right, seem to bother him as he's in that moment, as he's pedaling through those things. So, what a cool lesson to learn, and what a cool life skill to have that the bike can really teach us. So, when we focus on all those things that are outside of our control, we can get just overly stressed, overly anxious, overly sad, overly frustrated, angry, whatever it is. But when we can just focus on being in the moment, being in the now, and what we can do in those moments, that's where we can really be at peace. So great stuff. So thanks again, guys, for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, review, all those good things. Please share this with other friends, family members, anyone that enjoys biking or is thinking about getting into biking, and biking in any manner. Doesn't matter, road, mountain, casual, e-bike, whatever. Just as long as you're pedaling and experience those amazing benefits of connecting with your community. But one of the biggest benefits is the benefits of our mental health and being in the moment. So, whatever you're going through, just ride this out.